Hi everyone and welcome back to National League Lowdown with me, Dan. As you can see, I'm joined by my usual panel. Craig, how are you, mate? You okay?
Excellent, mate. With the breaking news episode yesterday as well, mate. I think I've seen you more than I've seen my own family this week.
I know, I feel like we've been attached at the hip, virtually, obviously. But yeah, yesterday's was a bit of a short and snappy one, but obviously we had to cover the Yeovil news as the first manager sacked. Made sense, didn't it? Mark, how are you, mate? You okay?
Aloha, everybody. Yep, a bit of a surprise yesterday to absolutely nobody, especially in the Yeovil area. But I'll cover that once we get going. But yeah, all is well here.
Yeah, good. And we are joined tonight by Tamworth goalkeeper Jaz Singh. How are you, mate? You okay? Thank you for joining us.
No problem at all. Evening, guys. Glad to be on, and yeah, look forward to having a good chat with you guys.
Yeah, be good to cover some stuff. So we've got loads of questions for you. Obviously, being an active player in the National League, playing for Tamworth. My first question was going to be obviously what have you made of Tamworth's start to the season so far?
Um, Obviously, on points wise, it doesn't look great, but you know we're pretty much a new squad from players that have left. We've probably had 5 or 6 big characters in that dressing room that have left, and yeah, no disrespect to the players that left, but we've probably got better players, better footballers, but it's just gelling that group together. And you know, I think if you ask the gaffer, I don't think he knows his best 11 yet. So yeah, it's not been a ideal start, but I think last year we didn't win our first game till the fifth game, and we've already done that. So yeah, it's been slow, but we're getting there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you lost Dan Creaney, which is a lot of goals. We've talked on here numerous times about Tamworth and just it's a massive shaped hole up front to lose that many goals and things. So obviously you've replaced him with other players, like you say, potentially better players. Um, who do you think is going to take on that mantle of your top goal scorer this season?
It's difficult, really. Obviously, you know, Creaney did so much for the team, not just on the pitch but off the pitch. Like I said, he was very much a big character in that dressing room. You know, it's likes of Manny Doku and Ollie Lynch we've got from Luton, who's an absolute talent, by the way. He's got all the potential to be a great striker. I think he was at Hemel last year, so he's had the experience in non-league. I think it's just confidence with them too. I think if either of them can get 1 or 2 goals and get up and running, I think the goals will start to come through. I know Manny's obviously already scored, but yeah, obviously we need players to chip in more so than last year. We obviously Creaney got 20. I think he got 20 in the end. So we need the wingers to chip in. We need the midfielders to chip in, and then obviously main part of our game is the set plays and the throw-ins. So we need our centre halves to chip in as well. So I don't think it will be a case of someone getting 20 plus goals. I think it'll be spread across the board this year for us, and yeah, it's more of us probably keeping a few more clean sheets if possible.
Yeah, and obviously you talked there about obviously set pieces and stuff, and I think home form's massive for you as well, isn't it? I think we talk about any team that's potentially maybe going to not maybe struggle a little bit. I think home form's massive for you, isn't it?
Yeah, well, we saw that last year. We saw it with the teams, even the Football League teams, the Premier League teams that come to our place, they didn't enjoy it. So, yeah, we've got to make it a hard place. I know we've already lost there this year. The Scunthorpe game, the first game of the season is always like a cup final, so it's a bit of a weird one. We played really well against Truro, and that could have been easily 5 or 6. And then obviously the Brackley on Monday, which again was a really competitive game, and I think towards the end we were pushing for a winner, but I think a draw was a fair result. So like, teams come off the pitch, especially on our pitch, knowing that they've been in the game. So, we have to make that real place where we can get points this year.
Yeah, and I know what I like as well. So I always talk about football these days, and it's all about possession and passing and things. But I love watching games where set pieces are important. It does seem to be coming back a bit as well. You see it in the Premier League a bit with Arsenal and that these days, where set pieces have become so important and things like that. So for me, it's quite enjoyable to watch as well because not many teams are set up to cope with that kind of play as well. It's not normally sit back, let them have the ball, come on to us. Whereas when you're got Tom Tonks launching balls into the box, it could easily go anywhere, and it puts it in the mixer. It gives the defenders something to think about. And so I take my hat off to you if I had one on. I love
Yeah,
I love watching that because it's just something that I really think is a real throwback football wise.
yeah, it's a weird one because as much as when we're successful, we get a lot of plaudits from it. Obviously, when it doesn't go our way, obviously we get the other side of it of people, saying that this is anti-football, etc. But if you watch the Newcastle Liverpool game, for instance, Monday Night Football, any chance Newcastle had a chance to throw the ball in the box, they were throwing it in the box. The big centre halves come up. So it happens at all levels of football. It's just a different way of doing it, and like you said, it is a bit of a throwback. But I do think it is coming back. With the set play coach and all stuff like that, it's becoming such a huge part of football again.
Yeah, definitely. I know Craig had some questions for you. Obviously about potentially the difference between part time and full time teams. Craig.
Yes, obviously you're one of the minority in this league now that is still part time. When do you guys train? Have you got players still adjusting from being in full time setups coming down to part time? And obviously how do you all balance that work football kind of dynamic? Because I imagine it's not particularly easy, especially when you've got to go to places like Carlisle at the weekend and then Truro the next weekend kind of thing. How do you juggle it all?
Yeah, it is tough. Don't get me wrong. Like I think also recruitment wise is difficult. We're probably one of the only part time teams in the league now, but we're trying to get full time players to become part time footballers, which budget wise, Tamworth Football Club can't do. So basically, they have to pick the best part time players available. So obviously, the Gaffers recruited, a bit further on this year with Manchester lads. We've got a lad from Leaston who travels in. But work wise, it is difficult. Don't get me wrong. I've got a 7-month-old baby, makes it even more difficult. Lads with the families. For instance, the last 2 Saturdays, I think we've had Gateshead away, Southend away, the 2 away games. I've left my house on a Saturday at 7 a.m. Don't get back at till probably 9-10 p.m. Where majority of professional teams, if they were travelling that far, they would be staying in a hotel Friday night. They would be up in nice hotel, nice food, great pre-match, nice early little walk in the morning, and then go to the game. Well, obviously we don't have that luxury, so it does have its difficulties, but we know what we sign up for. There's no excuses. We've done it last year. There's no reason why we can't do it this year.
Yeah, how do you balance midweek games, for example? Because we were talking before we come on air, and obviously you're coming to Braintree. It's not too far away, probably 2 to 2.5 hours. But
Yeah,
still, you guys still work during the day? Do you take half
yeah.
days? Do you take days off
It,
holiday?
so basically, it will be tomorrow evening when we go into training. We'll realise what time the coach is leaving on that Tuesday, and it's up to you guys to sort out work. Basically, there's no assistance with it. I'm lucky that I have road days with my job, so I'll plan my diary around wherever the coach is meeting. Where other lads will need to take the half day or will need to take the whole day. And then yeah, so like I think last year, I think we had a really like horrible spell of. I think we had Hartlepool away on a Tuesday. The following Tuesday we had Wealdstone away, and then the following Tuesday we had Yeovil away. And I think by the Yeovil game, I think we lost 2-1, and the lads looked drained. We looked absolutely knackered, and I think like stuff like that, it does eventually catch up with you. And I think that's where the gaffer's so good. He does manage our time in, and he understands when we need a breather.
Yes, I'm going to go back to the FA Cup last season. You had that great game against Tottenham,
Yeah.
and everybody was saying that you should have had the replay out of it. Um, as a player, how did you feel knowing that when you were drawing it after the 90 minutes and the final whistle came, it's like, and how did you feel thinking this is going to be 30 minutes and it's over? Would you have you would have loved the replay, but is it odd as a player knowing going into an FA Cup game, knowing it's all going to be over on the same night?
Yeah, it's a strange one. Like, I think we were a little bit scared because I think they made subs at extra time, and it was Son, Kuzleski, and Dominic Solanke who come on. Sorry, I think I'll just cut out. Oh, I'm back. Sorry. Yeah. It was Dominic Slanky's son and Kuzlescu come on. So that was the only thing I was thinking. I was thinking, bloody hell, like, how are we going to keep these out for 30 minutes now? But then on the flip side of the coin is that the round before we had Burton, and that went to extra time and penalties. So Burton might feel aggrieved, and they might say, we should have the replay, and they should have potentially beat us or whatever. So we went through on penalties on that one-off game, which gave us an opportunity to do it and to get the Tottenham game. So it worked around in circles. Don't get me wrong, I'd have loved a replay at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It would have been an incredible day for everyone, but so be it.
Can you do it again?
You know what? I was speaking to someone earlier about this, and I think it's even more difficult now. But I think the most difficult game we had last year in the FA Cup was Maxfield. As silly as it sounds, they took us right to the wire, and we had Huddersfield, Burton, and Tottenham. But I think Maxfield really pushed us. But yeah, for us to do it again, it's going to take I think a look of a draw. Definitely getting a home draw again. But yeah, it's going to be difficult, 100%. Like, I don't know many teams that have had an FA Cup run and then followed it up by an FA Cup run and successful in the league. So yeah, let's get to the draw first and see what we get.
Yeah, I mean, that takes us nicely. I was going to ask you, obviously, what your expectations are for the season. I'm just going to mention that Craig had you going down in his predictions for the season.
Thanks, mate. What time's the
I'm
bus
just getting,
finish last night?
I'm just getting you back for the Solihull Moors one.
To be fair, that's we love proving people wrong. So hopefully we can prove you wrong again. I remember last year we were obviously the favourites to go down, and we've printed out all the tweets on the wall, and it was basically just highlighted as motivation for us as a group that they've already everyone's wrote us off before balls even kicked. So if we can prove people wrong again, even better.
Yeah, I love that. Like I always say about online, and you see people commenting and stuff. I think you can either let it.
Oh, do we?
Yeah, we get it quite a lot, and you can either let
Yeah,
it get to you, or you can use it to motivate you. And so I love that energy that you do that, because I think that will you'll walk into the training ground or whatever every day and see these things up and be like, right, let's go to it and things like that. So
yeah.
no, I love that, mate.
Well,
Absolutely
there's
love
my
that. And,
motivation for next Tuesday as well. So
Yeah, if you beat
exactly.
us next Tuesday, please don't come and find me.
Well, you know where
Can we
he
get
is. It'll be in the commentary box.
can we get a clip of Craig's prediction and send it to Jazz, and then he could they can play that in the dressing room, couldn't they, Craig?
What, before Tuesday night?
Yeah, like I say, I did have that prepared, Craig, because I remember when you did it to me for Solihull last week, so I had that prepared. But yeah, no, like I say, and obviously you talk about the FA Cup game with Spurs as well, and I remember watching that game and just thinking, like, I felt like it was a bit of a robbery, like that you should have, you deserved that, away fixture,
Yeah,
going to that brand new stadium. But then, like you said, sometimes it works in your favour as well when you're playing like Burton and teams like. So I see the benefits, but I also see the downsides, because it would have been an
yeah,
amazing day out for everyone involved with the club, wouldn't it? Going to that
yeah.
brand new stadium.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, don't get me wrong. When the draw was made, we were buzzing it was a home because let's be honest, at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, it could have been a long evening or afternoon for us. As much as it would have been a great day, I don't think anyone would have enjoyed chasing the ball around for 90 minutes on their massive pitch. So, it was one of them as players. We come to a realisation that we've had a great day. It was a great occasion. We could have won, but we took part in something that was very special.
Yeah, definitely. I remember was it Hayden Hollis done a little
Yeah,
pirouette turn on the
Cruyff
ball.
turn. Yeah,
I was like, oh, it's like watching
yeah.
Rio Ferdinand.
Yeah, he's never done that, and he won't do that again.
That was my next question. Was it just a
Yeah,
one-off, or does he do that on a weekly?
yeah. He's technically very good, but that's definitely a one-off.
Well,
Did you
what a
swap
time to
shirts
do
with
it.
anybody? Did you get anyone's shirt?
No, I tried to get the goalkeeper. I think it was Kinksky. Sorry, he just signed for him, and ITV reporter just pulled me straight away, and I went up to him, and I think he just signed, and he didn't really speak much English, and I said, "Oh, can I have your shirt? I've grabbed my shirt like that, and he just basically tapped me on the shoulder and just said, "Good game," like even Drago, from Rocky. I was just a bit like,
Yeah.
okay, cheers, mate. So it was a bit of
Uh,
a like, I'm not really going to ask you twice, so don't worry about it.
yeah. No, but like I say, just them kind of cup runs that you had and them games, it shows there is still a bit of magic in the FA Cup. Even though I do think, just personally, my opinion, that it is kind of designed now for the big teams to succeed more than anything. With the size of their squads and things like that. If it goes to extra time, the chances are they're going to bring on the big hitters. You
Yeah,
even see that in the Carabao Cup this week. You've got like teams like Man United in that field, and like Matthias Cunha away at Grimsby and things like that. And it's just like,
yeah,
it's good to have a cup run because it makes you believe that fairy tale's still there somewhere.
yeah, 100%. And I think like as a small town like Tamworth as well, it brings everyone a bit. It's the talk of the town. It was the excitement all week. It was carnage basically. The town was, which obviously they don't have all the time, so it was brilliant for the town.
Yeah, no, that's great, mate. So we'll move on. We're going to do our deep dive. We've lost Craig, but I'm thinking potentially his daughters maybe woke up. So we'll carry on anyways until Craig comes back. But we're going to deep dive Tamworth Brackley first, which makes sense with Jazz here.
Yeah.
Obviously, how was the game, mate? How did you find it? Do you think a draw was a fair result?
Yeah, it was difficult Monday because the heat. If you play on our pitch, you'll realise that if it's 25, 26 degrees out in the open, it's about 30 on the pitch. It's very leg zapping. It's energy absorbing, and then obviously after the lads play the game on Saturday, it makes it 10 times worse. So, there was a great tempo about it, but we got ourselves in an early lead and. We had a little game plan that seemed to be working, and we were getting chances on the counter here and there. And fair play to Brackley. Obviously they've come up and they've recruited really well as well. I know Gav personally, and I know he's what his expectations are, and they're not wanting to just stay up. They want to compete and kick on, and as soon as it sounds, even push for the playoffs. So fair play to them. So they beat Rochdale on Saturday, so they wanted to beat us as well. It was a difficult game. Second half, they scored on our side of things, a bit of a poor goal, and then it kind of swung back and forth who was going to try and get the winner. And I think the last 10 minutes we pushed on and tried to get the winner, and a few throws, a few corners come in, and we just didn't really have that quality. And I think it just showed that we were a bit tired. I think, like you said, a draw was a fair result.
Yeah, I mean, just mentioning Brackley, they've come up. Like you said, they've recruited well. They've got 7 points from 4 games, which is a great return for a team that's just come up. 'Cause obviously, I think they've only played 4 games, not 5. So
Yeah,
it's a really good return for them. But you guys, you're still picking up points. And like you say, if it's going to be maybe a tough season, these points all build up over the course of the season, don't they?
yeah, 100%. Like I think the gaffer was pretty much shouting out, if we can't win, don't lose, because I do think them points are massive when the games are really tight. You can go one way or the other. I think last year it went our way a lot of the time. But if it doesn't go your way, you don't lose the game of football. So you get another point on the board, you move on. As 1 point over Bank Holiday weekend is better than none. So we will take it all day.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Like I say, come the end of the season, that point could be the difference between staying up, going down, anywhere in
Yeah,
the league. Could be a massive
100%.
point. Yeah, definitely. Mark, how did you see the game, mate?
Well, Brackley seems to be, excuse me, seem to be surprising a lot of people, including me, because I had them to go down, especially I pinpointed Danny Newton and George Carlisle's departures as crucial, but they're getting there. They're playing, they're getting used to the league, and if a draw is one of the ways that you're going to actually stay in this league, then yeah, it's a good idea. As Jazz said about Tamworth's ground, once it gets warm there, it gets very warm. As we found out at the Tamworth Mat game last season in the FA Cup. But I think with Tamworth, everybody's they're still part time, but you can't count them out. you just can't count them out because of who they have. Jaz mentioned Manny Doku. I'm a big fan of Manny Doku, and I believe once he gets going, like he did for Hensford, he'll, 10 to 15 goals will be the difference. And of course, and I'll mention him every week, in a Tamworth perspective, they've got the lethal weapon from Tom Tonks. And it doesn't matter. I mean, get your points how you can. And I think Mac had a very similar experience on Monday against Spennymoor. You're not going to win the game, but don't lose it. And we both did well. So, yeah, if it's a point earned, it's a point earned at the end of it all.
Yeah, I agree, mate. I agree. Craig, how did you see the Tamworth Brackley game?
Yeah, so I was watching the highlights package and I saw the first goal and I was like, oh, brilliant, I get to say something good about a referee. I thought he played an excellent advantage on that goal. And then I watched the next highlight and thought, that's a Stonewall Tamworth penalty and he hasn't given it.
I'm
Who'd
just
be a
going to say
referee? Who'd be a
it's probably
referee?
the only thing you did right on Monday, so I'm not going to say anymore.
So yeah, I was really looking forward to singing the praises of a referee, and then we had a Stonewall, and it looked like there was a potential foul in the build-up to Brackley's goal as well. So, I think moments make games. You go 2-0 up at home with a penalty, it's effectively probably game over, and we're singing their praises and saying they've picked up more points at home. Their home form's massive, and then referees' decisions maybe swayed it slightly Brackley's way, but credit to them, they've come back into the game, took a chance, and then maybe looked slightly on top, but could have gone either way. And like you said, don't lose them games. That's the important thing. Don't lose them.
Yeah, 100%, mate. 100%.
And still another week where I can't praise referees. Maybe next week.
I mean,
Don't hold your breath.
you should do that thing what that Man United fans done, saying you won't cut your hair until you praise a referee. I mean, we could be.
Why do you think I've got this, mate?
Like that.
I mean, I would do it, but it'd be pointless. So, but yeah. So yeah, next game was an eventful game that me and Craig kind of covered a little bit yesterday. Yeovil 3, Gateshead 4. I was at the Carlisle game and I was just seeing the notifications come up for this game, and I was like, "What the hell is going on here?" Mark, I'll come to you first, mate. What did you make of this game?
Crazy. But if you're going in 3-0 up and you let it slip in the way you do, I'm not sorry in saying this. You deserve to get fired. If you can't plan, even at 3-0 up, there will be some managers in whatever league who will say, "Go and get a couple more. Do not sit in it." And if they sat in that league, then Mark Cooper is the biggest fool going. I mean, all credit should go to Gateshead. They dug in. They did absolutely everything they asked, and they got the rewards. But now the Yeovil fans will probably be glad that the new owners have acted sooner rather than later, because if they'd have just held on and gone, well, maybe giving them another couple of games, it might change. No, it won't. No, it won't. If you blow that 3-0 lead in the way that they did, I mean, capitulated, if you will, then no way. There's no way he should be in a job. And he's going to find it very, very difficult to pick up somewhere, because somebody's going to look at his record over the last 12 months and think, do we really want this guy in there? But no. But full credit to Gateshead. Everybody we picked in the bottom is now surprising us. it's really annoying.
That's the beauty of the National League.
But yeah, exactly. But yeah, Gateshead deserve all the plaudits. They know what they're doing. And yeah, I mean, Alan Armstrong, manager of the day for me.
Yeah, I mean, the comeback itself's incredible. Like you say, from a Yeovil perspective, it's a bad one to lose, especially when the manager's already under pressure. Because we
lost
spoke.
it. You should never lose a 3-0 lead at half time.
Yeah, well, we spoke to
Never.
Ethan yesterday. If you want to see that, head onto our channel and find our previous podcast. But he was very critical of the manager. He made a change at half time that Ethan wasn't happy with. I think he took Sims off, one of the goal scorers, went defensive, tried to see the game out, and it just totally flipped.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so I think it was a disaster. But yeah, so if you want to catch that podcast.
Yeah, well, he deserved it. If that's the way he's going to go, he deserved it because you should be looking at 4 or 5, maybe 6-0. But you, ah, dear, oh dear.
Jazz, how did you see the game, mate? Obviously, it was a resounding comeback from Gateshead.
Yeah, we played Gateshead on a Saturday, and first half they were really impressive, but second half we come into the game and we felt a bit hard done by that we didn't get to take nothing from the game. So like you said, obviously Yeovil have capitulated second half, but you've got to give credit to Gateshead. Whatever was said was at half time, whatever tactically was sorted out was sorted out, and I think even more impressive is where Gateshead have had to travel from to get to go Yeovil. You see that a lot of the time in local derbies, etc. But for them to do that, 48 hours after a game against us is incredible, really. But momentum is crazy. I can imagine when they got one. I don't know when the first one was. I think it was just after half time, if I remember right.
Yeah, I think it was just like 8, 9 minutes into the second half. I think something like that.
As a team, you can't ask for much more as belief goes. And then it's weird. I haven't been on the side of Yeovil of that kind of thing, but once it starts, it's so hard to stop, and you almost feel like the balls just keep coming back as a goalie. And I can imagine it was difficult to stop for Yeovil. And obviously, like you're saying, if the manager's making changes to shut up shop as well, you're just inviting pressure. So yeah, obviously it's a capitulation from Yeovil side of thing, but full credit to Gateshead. That's an unbelievable half-time team talk, and whatever they've done isn't a ridiculous result to get 6 points over Bank Holiday.
Yeah, definitely. And I love the fact that there was maybe like 40 fans there and they went and celebrated the winner with them at the end and things like that. And like, that's what it's all about. Them 40 fans that have went down there and they're sat there at 3-0 down at half time. In their wildest dreams, they're not thinking they're coming back to win 4-3. So it's the beauty of football, isn't
That's
it?
non-league football as well. That's the beauty of non-league football.
Definitely. Craig, how did you see the game, mate?
Yeah, nothing too much to add from what we obviously spoke about yesterday and the guys have covered. Lots of credit to Gateshead, but it was inevitable that he had to move on after that result. And it was very interesting how he was going to come out and defend himself, and he threw some players under the bus. And it was always going to be the end then for him. But interesting who they get next.
Yeah, like we say, if you want to hear what we have to say, obviously we've done a previous podcast with Ethan, the Yeovil supporter, discussing potential replacements and things. If you want to catch that, next one we've got Aldershot 4, Morecambe 0. Obviously, Morecambe first game back on Saturday, incredible atmosphere. We've covered that. This was a bit more of a reality hitting. I think so many new players, fitness levels. But the supporters are just happy they've got a team to support, which is incredible. After they were so close to the edge. Craig, I'll come to you first, mate. How did you see this one?
Yeah, so Morecambe ran out of steam. Was anyone surprised? Absolutely not. They put everything into Saturday, the emotion of Saturday, the emotion of the late winner, to go again 2 days later with a squad that's probably still only trained together once, twice, if that. It was going to be a thankless task for them. They held out probably longer than I expected, and then a potential offside. I've not managed to pause the clip to see if he was offside or not, but it's very, very tight on this one. Caused probably a little bit of a goalkeeping error, and then they just had nothing to go again. But they've now got a week, 4 or 5 training sessions probably together this week before their game at the weekend. So I think they just chalk it down as Saturday was amazing. Monday, let's forget about it. Let's have a look at it once or twice, analyse it, move on, and go from there. Aldershot scored some lovely goals. They made the most of an opportunity was put in front of them to play a very tired Morecambe side, and they made the most of it. And we know Aldershot love a goal this year, so for them to score 4, I don't think surprised anyone either.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the three words I use for Aldershot is value for money. You go to an Aldershot game, you are getting entertained, no end. Whether it's they're getting beat 3-2, or they're winning 5-1, or they're winning 4-0, there's always goals. So I wouldn't be opposed to going to an Aldershot game at some point. Mark, how did you see the Aldershot Morecambe game?
I think Morecambe will be glad to get a defeat under their belt because of it's the second game in. They need to realise what the league's about. It was just unfortunate that they came up against 1970s Brazil. Aldershot, what I did say at the start of the season. Do they want to? What's the priority, the league or defending the FA Trophy? They carry on like this, they can do both. 9 goals in 2 games is incredible. But Morecambe, they'll have a full week of training this week. They had the game on Monday. I believe there's a new signing through the door today. They've got to get these players all together in the training. They'll have Mohamed Sanger there very soon when his international clearance comes through. But a defeat isn't so bad because you can learn a lot from a defeat, and
Yeah.
it's how to respond. But it's a long way to go for them, and if they can get that blend in the Morecambe squad, then they'll be fine. But Aldershot, my goodness gracious me, you're not watching Carlos Alberto and everybody like that. I've been watching the old Pele videos. What's been going on?
Value for money,
Well,
mate. Value for money.
value for money. Do you know what? I would go through the turnstile, leave through the exit, and pay again for that.
Yeah, definitely. Next
Buy
one.
me 4 tickets. There's only one.
Next one, we've got Carlisle 5, Braintree 0. Craig,
Oh boy.
I'll let you get it out the way first, Craig, before we carry on talking. Just what did you think?
Yeah, so I think what you've just said there about getting out of the way is what Braintree need to do as well. They need to get it out of their system. You look at the fixtures at the start of the season and you think Carlisle away is probably one we're not going to get too much from. Just don't get hammered. Unfortunately for us, we got hammered. But we got a result Saturday, which ultimately made it a lot more of a free hit. We talked about home games. We beat Yeovil, which meant Carlisle become even more of a free hit. But to lose in the manner we did, and a couple of the goals we conceded, especially the second one, was shocking. But if you're going to get a Tonkin at some stage, make sure it's against the team you're not going to be competing against them. We're going to be at the opposite end of the table to Carlisle. So write it off, dust yourself down, go again Saturday. Forest Green at home Saturday, Tamworth at home. Home form can be massive. That could easily be 6 points, sorry, Jazz. It could easily be 0. If it becomes 0, then it's a bit more of an issue. If it becomes 6 or even 3 or 4, you sweep Carlisle under the rug and you go again.
Yeah, I agree, mate. I think that's a good way to look at it. And I think, to be fair, the game itself, Carlisle came out the blocks really fast, like the best I've seen this season from us so far. Regan Linney was causing all kinds of trouble. His first goal was absolutely outstanding, just curling effort right in the top corner. Keeper had no chance, and then the own goal kind of set the tone. And then we were just
You've been telling us how rubbish they've been all year, mate, and then I watch you against my team and you cut us to pieces.
there were rubbish against Solihull and Boreham Wood when I was there. So, but yeah, it was just one of them games. I think once the second went in, because it was so early on, it just kind of felt like that set the tone. Whelan in midfield was a massive improvement for us. He hasn't played the last couple of games because he had a bad game against Boreham Wood, but that bit of quality on the ball in the middle of the park was just massive difference. We had players that could win the ball back, but then give it to Whelan, and then he was distributing it to Lawamba on the right, Linney on the left. Armstrong was making runs. If it wasn't for your goalkeeper, it could have been worse, to be honest. Mason Terry in goal was outstanding. And that sounds silly when he conceded 5, but honestly, he made, I would say, 3 outstanding saves and then maybe 2 or 3 that he should have saved. Could have been a lot worse, but I said to Jazz before we went live, all I was doing when Linney got his hat trick was like, right, just take him off, wrap him up in cotton wool. I know how football works, especially when we've had rotten luck the last couple of seasons, getting back-to-back relegations. I'm like, just take him off, rest him, and that's it. So, no, it was strike it off for Braintree. Your home form is massive this season. Away from home, if you can pick up results, but Carlisle, massive one to build on after some disappointing home games. hopefully, you know, we've got some tricky games still to come, but hopefully something to build on. Jazz, how did you see the Carlisle Braintree game, mate?
Yeah, it's it's difficult really because, like I said to you, Carlisle's a lot of people. Carlisle away, especially, is a lot of people's cup final this year, and we'll be in very similar boat to Braintree when we go there. We will obviously try and set up shop and make it as frustrating as possible for them. And if they do get one, make sure they don't get two, because obviously, like Braintree found out, the floodgates could open and it becomes a very long day. Um, so yeah, whenever you go to these big stadiums, we found out last year it's very difficult if you don't start well, or if you don't at least get into half time at 0-0. So it's a tough one to take, but like, they won't be judged on that this season. It'll be their home form and the games against us, home and away, and the likes of teams in and around them as well.
Yeah, definitely, mate, definitely. And obviously, just before I come to Mark, but obviously your manager, Steve Pitt, was basically saying it just wasn't good enough, full stop, Craig. I meant to mention that when you were on, but like, I felt like he was maybe being a little bit harsh, you know. I just thought, yeah, it probably wasn't good enough, but, you know, what else, what else was he expecting potentially?
Yeah, I think that was he maybe done that a little bit out of respect for the 50 fans that travelled. Obviously, it's a long way, and they ultimately came to watch a game, and it was over within half hour. So I think he was
Mm,
doing it to kind of keep them fans on
yeah,
side as much as possible as well. But
yeah, it makes
ultimately, like we
sense.
said, everyone will be back together on Saturday. If we get something against Forest Green, then
Yeah.
Carlisle is long forgotten.
Yeah, definitely, and credit to them fans as well. They didn't stop singing all game. Same as I said about Solihull when they came. Bringing 40, 50 fans, like we said about Gateshead as well. You know, they don't stop singing all game. It's absolutely incredible. Massive respect to them making that long trip. Mark, how did you see this game, mate?
Well, Carlisle have the best striker in the league, Regan Linney. Regan Linney will. I can see him getting at least 30 goals. Braintree, yeah, they're gonna go up to, the favourites to win the league, and I've been hearing some real good things about Mason Terry. I know Craig has gone on about Mason Terry, and it's how you react in the next game. I mean, Forest Green for Braintree next. That could be an upset. You just don't know how they're going to play on the day, but they'll want to get that, not dwell on it at all. There's going to be a few teams going up there. You could see Rochdale, York, and Eastleigh. They could be on the end of a 4-0, 5-0. You just don't know. So, but yeah, Braintree, Braintree, it'll happen. But Carlisle, as long as they keep Regan Linney fit, he will be a 30-plus goaler this season. And we've got the resurrection of Luke Armstrong as well, who
Yeah.
will prove key to Linney scoring goals. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if Luke Armstrong doesn't score as many. He Don't forget Regan Linney had Alex Newby at Altrincham giving him the support to score them goals last season. And could Luke Armstrong be his Alex Newby?
Mhm. Maybe.
But
I mean, to put it into context for Carlisle, last season our top scorer was Matthew Dennis with 6. Linney's got 5 already.
I've already.
I know it's a different league, but it just shows that we've got a better striker. We're creating more chances. You know, I know it is a different league, but it just puts it into context a little bit of how good he's been
Doesn't
in
matter
attack.
when you're coming up against a 90% full time league, then the the comparisons between League Two and the National League there isn't any. There
Hmm.
isn't any. So
Yeah,
you're gonna get that. I mean, the was it Matthew Dennis did? Where did he go? He went back into the football league, didn't he?
yeah. And he's at Notts County. He scored twice on Monday, I think, or Saturday.
Well, it does go to show if maybe you do need a fresh coat of paint sometimes. And
Yeah.
that's what Matthew Dennis has got. Regan Linney wants to move up the leagues, and the only way he's going to do that is by scoring goals, and that's what he's all about. That's what he's all about. But Braintree, just put it in the put it in the box, shut the lid, go on to getting 3 points on Saturday, because that will please me no end.
Yeah. Moving on, we've got Boston 2, Wealdstone 1. Wealdstone obviously had a great start, 3 wins out of 3, and then obviously they've lost back-to-back games now. Obviously, still a great start for them when a lot of people are expecting them to struggle. Jazz, how did you see this game, mate?
Yeah, it was a weird one really because I think I think Boston have already won a game, and I think their home form is going to be massive for them again this year. Wealdstone, obviously they've started unbelievable. I think if you asked their manager at the start of the season if he took 3 wins out of 5, that he would take your hand off. So I think they've started really well, and it was going to be a tight game, being a bit nervy at times. I've seen the highlights, and chances both ends, and the goals are a bit scrappy on Wilson's side of things. But I think as the fact that they're off the mark at home as well was massive. I think they've started to get time, so they're working as well. So yeah, it was a big result for Boston, I think, and maybe that might be the season.
Yeah, I mean, Boston, like you say, they obviously finished the season strongly last season, and then it's obviously they've had a good home start, but bit of a mixed start for the start of the season. But Mark, how did you see this game, mate?
Boston had to do something, and Wealdstone had to do something. So a draw wouldn't have befitted both teams. As you know, I'm a fan of Graham Coughlin. I do like him as a manager. I mean, the way he managed to pull Boston out of the mire last season I find that very appealing. And the signing of his name is a shock, Lionel John Lewis. Experience, his experience is going to be absolutely vital for Boston. Wealdstone, that's 2 on the bounce now that they've lost, and they'll want to put a stop to that as soon as possible. They've got to show that they're not the pushovers that many people have predicted. So, but they've had a great start, but now they've got to plug the they're losing the 2 games on the trot. They've got to shut that down either with a draw or with a win in the next game. But yeah, Boston, their experience will tell. Their
Yeah,
experience will tell, but long way to go.
yeah, I think they'll get better, won't they, as the season goes along. Boston. Craig, how do you see this game, mate?
Yeah, I think always good to win your home games when you're expected to be in and around it. I think we've all mentioned that several times for several teams now. Good result for Boston, very even game. Wealdstone will be delighted with their start, but as Mark said, now they're starting to creep into 2 defeats in a row. Can they stop that slide? But they've been competitive in every game. I think Sam Cox will be delighted with a start. Again, maybe with a little bit more quality, they might have turned this in a 2-1 the other way. Wouldn't have been a massive shock. But just keep going, Wealdstone. Keep creating your chances. And like Mark said, as the way they're playing, they're probably going to prove a lot of us wrong. So yeah, keep going. Just don't get on a losing streak, because once you're on it, it's very hard to get out of it.
Yeah, need to nip it in the bud quickly, and just like say, even if it's just a draw or something, just to stop the rot and move on. But yeah, and then the last one of our deep dive is Woking 1, York 1. I've got to get this in here just a little bit because obviously there's a lot of York supporters unhappy that we predicted them to finish second this season. They're currently sat 12th after 4 games I think they've played. Which isn't the best of starts. I'll come to you, Mark. What have you made of York and Woking?
Well, calling Woking dry toast will stick with them, because that's what they are. They're just really uninspiring me at the moment, and they've got to do something. They really have to do something. And York, well, are we suffering a little bit of a hangover? And I think it's Adam Hinshelwood's second season, I believe.
Yeah, About he done about 1.5 before this, isn't he? He didn't do a full season, the one before.
Yeah. I mean, are they suffering from that playoff defeat last season? I mean, the quality they brought in, they should be doing a hell of a lot better. Hell of a lot better. I don't think Pearce has really got going, has he? Either. I mean, that's the thing when your main goal scorer isn't quite firing on all cylinders. It can be a very, very long time before you say, "Come on, mate," or "What do you do? Do you drop him for Josh Stones? Do you?"
Stone
It's
started.
something.
Stone started Monday. Pearce was on the bench, wasn't he?
Pearce was on the bench. Will they spend again? You just don't know. But York have the quality, but it's just not showing at the moment. And for everybody who's been slating us for putting them second, at this moment in time, they'll be lucky to get fourth. Now
I
let's
mean,
see all the
just go.
criticism come in. Oh dear.
Yeah, I mean,
But
we'll just obviously quickly cover walking as well, but that's a massive point for them. You know, that they've had a really bad start, tough start. To get a point at home to York, regardless of how York are playing, you know, that's a good point for them. Maybe something they can build on. Jazz, how did you see the game, mate?
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree with you. I think Woking have had a tough start, and to get a point at home, and to get stop the rot. I think I don't know what their previous. I think have they lost 4 or have they drew one of them?
Yeah, no, this was the first point.
That's you almost stop the rot, like you say. When you do lose games and the momentum goes, every time you can see the goal, you think, here we go again. So when York come to town and you get a point, you very much take it, and hopefully they can build from that. I think from York's perspective, I think it's one of them. They played such good football last year, and they scored a lot of goals, and they finished second, but they obviously didn't cross the line in the playoffs. So I think it might take a bit of time for their new players to settle in, and it's one of them. I would never count them off, just because how much quality they have in their team, and what they bring to the league, especially going there. I think how they play their brilliant times, and not just yet, but yeah, I'm sure a lot of them would take second.
Yeah, I think they would, and I think you're right. I think that they've got that much depth in the squad. I think it will come together at some point. Like, it can't not come together at some point, in my opinion, for them. It just depends, maybe potentially how far back they are, how much ground they've got to make up. Craig, how did you see this one, mate?
Yeah, I think you guys have covered it really well, and just kind of linking it in. I don't think Hinshelwood knows his best team yet. He's tried a few things out. Would it surprise me if they go and win their next 6 and then we're singing their praises? Absolutely not. It's going to take a little bit of time to click, and it could be clicking very soon. Surprised they didn't start on fire though, because everyone else played Saturday and they didn't due to the Rugby World Cup. So I thought they'd have been a bit fresher and maybe front a little bit more at Woking, but that point could be the difference at the end of the season. They found a way not to lose, and can they go again and now get that run of games together and suddenly get that fly up the table? Because yes, they are 12th, but probably one win puts them 5th or something along them lines. That's very, very early to look at the table.
Yeah, definitely.
You just wanted to get that one in to get some comebacks, didn't you, mate?
Well, just they gave us that much stick for our pre-season predictions. I feel like we're allowed to give a little bit back. Yeah, so obviously that's the games we deep dive in. I'm going to try and do as well as Craig did on the last one for the. I think you've done 5 in 5 minutes. I'm going to try and do 6 in 6.
oh
Um,
boy.
we'll see how we go. We'll see how we go, because I can ramble and talk for a while. So we'll try and do it in 6 minutes. So set your stopwatches, everybody. First up, we've got Altringham's 2, Solihull Moors 0. I think it was a much needed win for Altrincham. After 3 straight defeats. Corral Redding opened the scoring. Lucas Weaver sealed the win with I think it was with 10 minutes to go. Solihull Moors, so many questions. Matt Taylor under a bit of pressure. Still haven't won a game. Obviously, they got a point at Carlisle. I think I said to Jazz before we went live. They came to Carlisle and they played out of the skin. Absolutely outstanding, and then they got beat 5-1 off Aldershot. So who knows from them? But I do think Matt Taylor's under a bit of pressure. Next, we've got Bournemouth 2, Truro 1. Both teams obviously recently promoted. Truro got the first goal of the season, which is massive. It looked like they were on the way to, their first point of the season, but late on, Boreham Wood through Matt Rush, I think it was the 95th minute, got the winner. Boreham Wood 7 points from 12 so far, that's a cracking start, isn't it? Truro still no points, only team I think now with no points. John Askey, Mark's a big fan of John Askey, probably will turn it around at some point. Again, it just depends on how far behind they are at the time, but there is signs there that they are turning a little bit. Mark's favourite team, Forest Green, 1, Eastleigh 0. Obviously, I've seen the stats and seen the highlights. It was a pretty dominant display. I think they just kept doing what they do, kept the ball well, kept pressing, kept attacking. But again, another late goal. They've had some late goals this season. But Tom Knowles got the goal later on, seeing Robbie Savage on the pitch singing as if he'd won the league, things like that, which it's good signs for them. Top of the table, Eastleigh have had a really indifferent start, and they are currently on 6 points from 15, which is a bit of a mixture. But again, they added that many players in the summer. I think it's going to take time for it to fully gel for them, but there is signs there. And at 1-0 at Forest Green, it's not necessarily a bad away result, really. Next, we've got the team that changes every week. Rochdale 1, Sutton 0, made 11 changes again after they made 11 changes on Saturday, which is incredible. But they brought the main man back. I'm the chairman of his fan club, Manny D. Gets the goal, gets the winner. But like I say, there was a red card at the end of the first half that kind of swung the. Was there a red card? Or did I get that wrong? I got that wrong. Sorry, got that wrong. Wasn't a red card. 11 changes, like I say, bringing all the rested people back. Beckwith had a good game. Manny D had a good game. There was a lot of players that really excelled in that. And Sutton, again, poor start. 2 draws so far. They've got Carlisle at the weekend. Could be, again, a tough start again, carrying on for them. The red card that I read was Scunthorpe Halifax, which is next, which is 1-1. Brandon Horton was sent off just before half time. And then just after half time, Scunthorpe took the lead through Callum Roberts, who Mark spoke very highly of on this podcast. But they were pegged back pretty much instantly through David Cower. I think that's how you pronounce it. Sorry if it isn't. Obviously, Scunthorpe came up. Great start again. The 100% record has gone, but 10 points from 12. I mean, they're not going to knock that either. Halifax again, poor start, but they seem to be, grinding results out, getting back on track, and they are moving up the table. And then last, we've got Southend, Hartlepool, 1 apiece. Everyone predicted a draw apart from me in our predictions. It kind of had draw written all over it when I think about it. But Harry Boyes, wicked ball into the box, own goal from ex-Carlisle centre-back Tom Parks, set the game off. Hartlepool came back into it in the second half. And again, Hartlepool seem to have really got it together. I think they've got. I'm just looking where Hartlepool are. But yeah, Hartlepool are high up and they're doing well. And obviously Southend as well. They're both up there. I think they're in 3rd and 4th place. So they're doing really well. And again, they won't be too disheartened. I seen an interview with Jeff Stelling after the game, and he was saying, we'll take a draw here all day. But that was my 6 in 6 minutes. I maybe messed a couple up, but I think I've done okay.
That was
Wasn't bad at
4.5
all.
minutes, sir.
How many?
4.5 minutes.
Oh, it's not bad. It's not bad. Could have been worse. Could have been here all night, lads, to be fair.
Hey,
Could
just
have been
wait
here.
until I get on it.
It's your turn next, Mark.
Well, yeah, it's going to be a nice 3-hour special, people. Get ready.
I'll bring the popcorn and that.
Yeah,
But
you
yeah,
might as well order a Chinese and some beer because it's going to be a long one. But can I just say this, though, on Forest Green, goal of the day, Tom Knowles.
yeah. I mean, there's been some
Great goal.
outstanding goals, hasn't there? There's been some outstanding goals, but that was one of them this month. We're going to do actually on our next one. I think we're going to do like goal of the month, manager of the month, player of the month, that type of thing. So if anyone's got any comments that they want to nominate a goal, we'll certainly talk about it.
Guess who's not going to win it here?
Unless Jazz scores from his own box the weekend, Jazz might win it, but we'll never know. We never know. But yeah, and then lastly, we've got our predictions for the new game week. Craig, I'll come to you first. This must be the 12:30 game, which is Solihull Moors against Southend. What have you got for this one, mate?
The final game of Matt Taylor's reign, 2-0 Southend.
Yeah, I've got 2-0 Southend as well. Jazz?
I'm going to go 2-1 Southend. I think
Mark?
they'll put a fight.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all going to be unanimous here. I'll be shocked if Mark's picked a Solihull win here. Mark?
Not a chance. Not a chance. The final game of Matt Taylor's reign, 3-0 Southend.
Yeah. Next, we've got Braintree Forest Green. Mark, we'll come straight back to you, mate. What have you got for this one?
I'll tell you something. I'm going to give Braintree the benefit of the doubt, and I think you're going to get a point, 1-1.
Jazz?
I'm going to go nil.
I always like them shouts. I've got 3-1 Forest Green. Sorry, Craig. And sorry, Mark, as well, to be honest. I'll just apologise to everybody. Craig?
Yeah, please do.
For everything tells me Forest Green should win this, but then we can do something at home. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to get some stick. 2-1 Braintree.
Fortune favours the brave, Craig.
Yeah.
Or the
Like you
fine
say,
line
stranger
between
things
brave
have
and
happened.
stupid, mate.
Stranger things have happened. Eastleigh, Altrincham next. Jazz, I'll come to you first, mate. What have you got for this one?
I'll go Altrincham to win 2. Get that?
I got 2, and then I never heard the next bit.
I'm sorry, 2-0.
2-0. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got 2-1 Altrincham on this one. Craig?
2-0 Eastleigh.
Mark?
2-1 Eastleigh.
Oh, I like this. We've got a bit of variety. Got a bit of variety going on. Next, we've got Halifax 2, Yeovil 0. That's my prediction.
What, you know the score already, mate?
I'm just predicting the future, guys. Yeovil won't have the new manager bounce by then. So I think they'll lose this one comfortably. Jazz?
I'll go 1-1. I think they'll have a point to prove, but
Yeah.
I don't think Halifax started that great. So
Yeah. Mark?
Do you know what? I'm going to side with Jazz here, 1-1, because it will be amazing what the lack of a bad manager does for a club.
Yeah. And Craig?
I'm going to go completely opposite to you, Dan. I think they're going to be unleashed. They're going to be free, and they're going to win 2-1, and that's 2-1 to Yeovil.
Nice. Like I say, a bit of variety. On the last one, me and Craig pretty much copied each other's answers all the way through, so it was a bit boring. Next, we've got Aldershot against Gateshead. I'll come to you, Jazz, first for this one.
I'll go 3-1. 3-1 Aldershot.
3-1 Aldershot. Value for money. Value for money. Back again. Mark?
I'm going to go 3-0 Aldershot. Once you pop, you can't stop.
Craig?
Both scored 4 on Monday. 0-0.
I actually contemplated 0-0, but I haven't gone with that. I've gone 3-2 Gateshead. I think Aldershot will revert back to the settings of the first few games of the season, lose 3-2. But yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if it's 0-0, to be fair. Next, we've got Hartlepool, Boreham Wood. Mark?
Alex Reid. Alex Reid's going to be scoring again, but it's going to be 2-1. Luke Garrett ain't going to give him an easy time.
Yeah. Craig?
I agree fully with Mark. 2-1.
Jazz?
2-0 Hartlepool.
I've got 2-0 Hartlepool as well.
There you go. We're back with.
We're back. We're back.
There we are. We knew
We've
it couldn't last long.
We've got Morecambe versus Woking next. Craig?
Who was that? Morecambe versus Dry Toast.
Dry toast.
Dry
Sorry, yeah,
toast.
dry toast.
I'm going to have to go on the fence on this one because we don't know a lot about Morecambe yet, and Woking are going to be scrapping for points. So 1-1.
Jazz?
Yeah, I'll like I don't know a lot about Morecambe right now. I'll go 1-0 Morecambe. 1-0.
Again, I swear I'm not just copying you, Jazz, but I've got 1-0 Morecambe as well. But I don't know. I just think they're going to be at home. The crowd's going to be up for it again. Walking aren't great that we've seen so far, so I'm basing it more off what I've seen from Walking than what I've seen from Morecambe. Mark,
Going to go with Morecambe 2-1. Ben Tollett to run the show again.
yeah. Next, we've got Sutton versus Carlisle. I'll go first just so it doesn't look like I'm copying everyone's answers. I've got 2-1 Carlisle in this one. I think it might be a tough game. I know Sutton haven't had the best of start, but it's a long trip down there for us. But I think we get over the line just. Regan Linney masterclass again. Craig?
1-1.
Jazz?
2 Carlisle.
Was that 2-0? Did you say?
Yeah, 2-0.
Yeah.
2-0.
Yeah. Mark?
3-1 Carlisle, because you know what I think about Sutton's recruitment. I don't need to repeat it.
Yeah, we've covered that pretty much the last few weeks.
Oh boy, have we.
Truro versus Boston next. Jazz?
I'll go 2-0 Boston.
Yeah. Mark?
Sorry, Boston. This is where Sir John gets his first win. 1-0 Truro.
I've gone 1-0 Truro as well. I don't know.
Good lad. Good lad.
I just feel like they battled a bit against Boreham Wood, and then I don't know. I just feel like this reeks of a home win. I think. Craig?
Completely agree. 2-1. Truro.
Yeah. Next, we've got Wealdstone versus Rochdale. Craig, I'll come back to you, mate.
1-1.
Jazz?
1-0 Rochdale.
I've got 2-1 Rochdale. Mark?
2-2.
2-2. And then last is the late game, which is Brackley Scunthorpe. Mark, I'll come to you.
Well, don't forget that these two played each other last year. Let me think. But no, I'm going to go 2-1 Scunthorpe. I just think Howe, Roberts, Whitehall will make that difference.
Yeah. Jazz?
1-1. I think
1-1.
it'll be.
Yeah, I've got 2-2. I think there'll be goals, but I think Brackley started well. Home form in particular, very good. I think there'll be goals 2-2. Craig?
I've got a real soft spot for Scunthorpe for some reason. I don't really know why, but they're going to win 1-0.
Yeah, I mean, again, they've had a good start. I think there's a logic to it, to be fair. And then just before we finish, Craig, I'll let you talk through obviously last week's results. I normally get you to do that first, but I forgot this time. So
Yeah, so firstly, I didn't realise that Tamworth York was obviously postponed. It's being played the Tuesday after, I believe. Is that due to? I believe that's due to the Rugby World Cup again, is it?
No game. Nice.
Now puts me in a bit more of a mood for next Tuesday because you boys are going to be lovely and fresh. But yeah, the standings. So I'm just going to get it up here quickly now. The week was won by myself last week with 17 points. Dan got 15, Mark got 14, and the guest got 13. Mark did pick up 2 correct results.
Come on.
Myself and guests and Dan all got 1, I believe. But I swung it with more correct overall results rather than getting the perfect scores. So the current scores are Mark on 54, Dan on 65, the guest on 70, and myself on 78.
The comeback is still very much on.
76, sorry, 76.
I'm just trying to keep enough space between me and Mark at the bottom. I'm quite happy.
Hey, I'm coming to get you. I'm coming to get you.
But yeah, like I say, if you want to get involved in the predictions as well, Callum posts them on social media as well. You can get involved on there as well. We've got our team of the week on there as well. Callum does a lot of great work on our social media, so massive shout out to him as well. But thanks to Craig and Mark as always for joining us, and thank you, Jazz, so much for giving us your time tonight, mate. Much appreciated.
My absolute pleasure, guys. It's lovely to call. yeah, good luck with the pods and keep going.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised to actually listen to it and follow, and and non-league needs people like this. So good on you.
Yeah, cheers, mate. And thanks everyone for watching.
Thank you, Jaz.
Yeah, thank you.
Cheers.
And thanks everyone for watching. We'll be back next week. Take care.